Hey, it's Jason with Kirkham IronTech, and we got the CEO, Tom Kirkham here. Tom, can you explain what happened during the recent CrowdStrike incident and how it's affected the tech landscape?
That I'm going to try to keep this really simple. They screwed up and it crashed all these computers. That's it in a nutshell. All right, but a little more detail than that. It's still under investigation. I haven't looked in the last day or two to see if CrowdStrike has released more details about what happened. We've certainly heard from Sentinel One, who is our provider. Sentinel One and CrowdStrike are just just head against head competitors. I mean, they're gunning for each other all the time, and they've been doing it for years. And they are up until now. Those were generally regarded as the two best XDR, EDR, MDR platforms out there. This kind of, for lack of a better phrase, the super turbo deluxe antivirus, which they're not even anything like an antivirus. They're so much better. But just to keep it in layperson's term, those two products and others in that class of products uh, are really the only tools that can stop a ransomware attack once it's been unleashed by an unwitting insider, a non-malicious insider, is the way it's typically deployed. And the reason for that is they don't have a modern ransomware attack has they're either using military grade cyber warfare uh, tools and weapons, the criminals are, or there's simply no virus in it. So the military grade stuff, that's what it's designed to do. It's designed to be an APT, an advanced persistent threat, and so it evades detection by traditional um, antivirus software packages and things like that. So you need an EDR, period. Okay. Now we live in a very complex society. Computers have millions of lines of code provided by hundreds, if not thousands, of different companies for all of the things on a computer or a server or even a router or switch uh, to operate properly. So, what happened in the CrowdStrike case is CrowdStrike hooks in at a very low level to the operating system and the hardware itself. And they apparently, one of those components was hooked into the network at the network level, and it had corruption in it or some other flaw in the code that was released. And CrowdStrike did a massive release all at once, and it wasn't discovered until it was too late. And because it is hooked in at such a low level, if there's any errors at all in it, you end up with a blue screen of death, a BSOD. And to further make things even worse, as as of this recording, you're still seeing it with Delta Airlines and probably hundreds of other companies as well, is you pretty much have to touch every computer to fix it. Remote tools will not work if a computer will not boot, right? So a global corrupt file at that input output level of the software and the hardware, the PC, the computer, is really a catastrophic error. And that's basically what happened. Now there's speculation that they had poor quality control. Uh, there's speculation that they did not do a limited release to make sure it was good in production, because sometimes you can't find stuff until it's in production. As bad as that sounds, sometimes you gotta stick it in production to make sure it's still good. And what we heard from Sentinel One, and please don't blast me. I don't want to make this out that Sentinel One is better in every regard. I'm sure if we were a CrowdStrike partner, I could tell you all the things that's wrong with Sentinel One. But Sentinel One does not do that. They don't hook into the operating system at that low of a level. They leverage AI and neural net. Apparently, from what I'm told, they leverage it a lot more. They rely on it a lot more because they don't want to tinker. It's risky. It's risky to tinker with all the way down at the operating system and chip level with equipment. And when they do a production release, they roll it out in waves gradually. And it's also very easy to turn off or to control it and things like that. That's what they're saying in response to the CrowdStrike problem. And of course, they're courting everyone that had CrowdStrike installed. Like, hey, this won't happen with us, is basically what they're saying. Now, having said all of that, I've had conversations with people, competitors even in our business, where they extol the virtues of CrowdStrike and why it's better than Sentinel One. And from time to time, we evaluate it, at a high level, and then we might go down. This has happened a couple of times over the past few years, where this is still good software. Are we missing something? And ultimately, as we go down the road, um, we see that some of their stuff has been they've put it together through acquisitions, which means it's not a really tightly integrated solution or suite that they have. Theoretically, I'm sure someone at CrowdStrike would debate me on that. But ultimately, all of the years that we've used Sentinel One, which is, gosh, 8 years, 9 years, we haven't had a reason to change. None of our clients have had a significant successful attack. Um, and I hope I can always say that. Nothing's 100%. Sentinel One rarely, once you really use it and get the experience with it, it rarely causes problems. The other thing you want to look for when you're selecting a product like that is you want to make sure you don't get a noisy alert board, right? Noisy SOC where it's doing all these, it's finding all of these things that really aren't a problem. You've got to lower those false positives, because otherwise it escalates your monitoring and response expenses, both for the client and for companies like us or IT staff, whatever it may be. So Sentinel One has a lot fewer false positives. Now, some people would say, well, that means it's missing stuff. Sentinel One also almost always excels at independent third party testing, almost always without exception. And they've been doing that for a number of years. So when we're evaluating other products, and there's others besides CrowdStrike to be sure, we also use Huntress. We put both of those things in place because Huntress does some things that we think are unique, and they're a great partner to work with, especially in the event of an attack and detection of attack and response of an attack. And but the bottom line is, day in and day out, Sentinel One's doing its job for us and our clients, and that's why we continue to use it. So, if you got any questions on that, and if you feel like you want to flame me for all the CrowdStrike Falcon fans out there, go right ahead. I'm not an engineer. I'm not going to get into those types of discussions. All I know is that in my world, Sentinel One has never failed us. So hopefully I didn't flame too many people on that or get a call from CrowdStrike CEO or whatever, but that's kind of it. I look, once again, you can go back through all my recordings. Whenever I mention that class of product, that EDR, XDR, whatever you want to call it, that endpoint detect and response class of product, I always mention CrowdStrike and Sentinel One in the same breath. So I'm not anti CrowdStrike. We just simply don't have a reason to use something else, especially now.